Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Male Medical. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by EJ Barthel, your running backs coach at the University of Nebraska. Coach, how are we doing this morning?
Good morning. Good morning. How you guys doing?
Coach, how we doing, man? Do you have a little downtime for a second, or like how we doing?
Nah, man, it doesn't exist in college football. You know that. Come on, man. Ain't no such thing as downtime, man.
Hey, at what point did he call the staff meeting for you yesterday?
You see, you try now. You're gonna catch me. Now you're gonna catch me. See, no, I'm not getting set up. Coaches. Yeah, we normally have staff meetings. At that time. So, yeah, just sometimes he'll cancel them. Sometimes he'll run them. So, But you're trying to set me up now, bro.
Never. So diplomatic. Oh, he killed me, so you don't have to worry about that. Like in any heat that comes out of anything, he's blaming me, so it doesn't matter, man.
Oh man. I appreciate you guys having me on the show. I mean, I've been here, 3 seasons. My first time. Golly, I get enough heat from y'all. I can't get on the show. Golly, what?
See, this is the part of you that I need people to see. Like,
yeah, that's right.
They see the stoic, like I like to call you musclehead, where you're like the guys. Like, this is funny, right? Like this is why you're good on the recruiting trail. It's like people when they need discipline, they're going to get disciplined, but and you can do it with love. But my man's got jokes too.
That's right. Listen, you coach hard and love hard. You know what I mean? Coach hard and love hard. That's how I was raised in this sport. And from a coach standpoint, I learned a lot from some great coaches. I worked under some of the best coaches in college football, and Coach Rule being one of them. And I've learned a lot of things, from my early ages as a coach, and how and it's a process, right? And so, I think the one thing about this place, the one thing about Matt and how we do things here, Coach Rule, is like we're going to coach every aspect of the development of the kid, right? On the field, off the field, academically, mentally, emotionally, physically. I mean, all those things. We're dealing with kids. We're like uncles or second parents. So that's just kind of how I am,
Yeah. Back to real quick, because you said something around and get to. It only took 3 years because I'm in a tricky spot, right? The network has to go first. You do great stuff with Huskers Sports Nightly and my colleagues, and I don't like to supersede the network. So I just have to wait until they get all their good stuff out, and then when I'm on this job, it's like they throw me a few bones. So every time I get the opportunity, that's when I was like, okay, if the network's cool, I gotta get EJ. So
hey, as long as I'm here, man, I appreciate it, man. I'm here now, so I got a shot. I'm here now. I watched the show enough, so I'm grateful to be on it, man.
Let's go. See, you should have never told me that. Now I'm gonna have to say good things about you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you, man. Trust me. I see you out there. When I catch those strays, I see you out there. I see you. I see your body language. Like oh man.
All right, so you said something interesting because people laugh at me. I said, he could have coached our room, and we had some tough guys, big personalities, and it's not just the running backs; it's the fullbacks too, right? You gotta be able to handle like a Lance Lewis or a Corey Schlesinger or some of these guys. And you said something about coaching the whole player during Coach Rule's tenure. The off-the-field incidents versus the GPAs is something, and maybe nobody cares anymore, but it just lends credence to what you're saying about the discipline. Like, nothing ever happens in Lincoln with like the football guys, and I see like the tight ship that you guys run in terms of what to wear, where to be, what time to be there, making sure you're in class. Like, that's not by accident. It appears to be pretty intentional.
As college football is changing, it's really kind of morphing into, I would say like, almost professional sports as it grows. There has to be an element of this. We're still dealing with young people. You know what I'm saying? And we're dealing with young people that need that need to learn how to become young men and young women. You know what I mean? And so successful young men and young women. And as you guys know, success very rarely comes from success, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is success usually comes from failure, right? So I think just making sure that we're helping these kids grow in every aspect and keeping them accountable from class to diet to nutrition. 1 minute late is late. From every aspect is so important when you're dealing with young people, and especially in today's age. I think it's mostly important with all the social media pressure, with all the outlets outside of sports. When we played, sports was our outlet, right? And so now there's many different outlets kids can use, and so we have to really dial in and help these kids become mature young adults very quickly. So we have to be involved, right? We have to be involved. And I think it's our job as coaches to be invested in the kids. And I talk to our guys, like, especially in recruiting, like the one thing that I want you to learn through this recruiting process is that I'm going to respect and demand your development. My light's went off here. Hold on a second.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, respect and demand your development. That's key. And if you can understand where my emotions are coming from as far as being aggressive or being accountable, and if the player knows it's coming from a place of care, they respond differently. You know what I mean? They respond differently. They know you care, and that's important. And so let's be honest, some of the demographics of kids that we recruit, sometimes more, and this isn't the right way, but more than times, a lot of these kids come from, tough structures at home, right? So we need to be that rock that provides that structure. That's how I view it.
Coach, I'm fascinated by this dynamic of sort of the personality types that people recruit at the college level, right? Whether it's just a toughness or a competitiveness. And I'm sort of curious, when you're looking at a kid, how much of it is you're looking to see if they're wired a certain way versus you're looking to see, hey, I think I can teach him these certain aspects of whether it's toughness or competitiveness. Like, and what's that balance like for you? Are there certain things you're just like, hey, that's incredibly hard to teach, I need you to come with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think coaching and evaluation are two different things. I think two different things. And I think within evaluation, you're really evaluating multiple things. As far as, one, you're evaluating traits of a player. Two, you're evaluating character of a player. And then three, you're evaluating the background of that player. What does his foundation look like? I think there's three elements. And in today's football, I think the foundation part is more important than ever. Like, where do they come from? Who's involved in their lives? Who are the people that are surrounding these kids? And what are you dealing with when they get here? Right. And so I think that's important. I think you need to look at all three phases in recruiting. The one thing I will say is I've been fortunate enough to start my career in personnel and evaluation. So I had to learn how to evaluate prospects. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's something I tip my hat off to Coach Rule. Coach Rule taught me that when I first started working for him in personnel. When we were recruiting at Temple, I'll never forget a story. He asked me a question. He goes, what do you know about recruiting? I told him my belief system, and he goes, take everything you know and throw it out the window, because that's not going to work here. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. And what I mean by that is I had to learn how to evaluate the player, the traits when we were at Temple. We had to learn to find the athletes, to find the traits we're looking for in position profiles, right? And so each position has different profiles of what you're looking for. Arm length, a 40-yard dash. A 40-yard dash, a 4.7 kid in Brooklyn is a difference of a 4.7 kid in Dallas, Texas. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's the things like that you have to learn as an evaluator. And then, you have to learn the growth potential. That's the third part, right? Like who's coaching him when he gets here? Can this coach handle this player and the things that he needs, right? So I think, again, going back, I think it's the traits of the player. I think it's the character of the player, and I think it's the foundation of the player that we look at when we're recruiting. Hope to answer your question.
Yeah.
You guys are so intentional just as a staff with how you want to recruit. And I think it reveals itself and part of it on the back end has got to be the culture and what happens once they get here. But you do need at least some sort of a benchmark before guys get there where your transfer portal numbers are so low, relatively speaking, as a football team with guys wanting to leave the program, even guys that think they do, and then they sometimes come back. It's like, yeah, this is a pretty good place to be. How much of that is what you're trying to explain on the front end in terms of knowing what you're dealing with versus this is kind of the culture that's in place where you better know what you're getting once you get here?
I don't know if I completely understand the question correctly. So you're asking
how much of guys wanting to be around and you getting a good handle on people wanting to be with you is done on the front end of the evaluation process versus once they get here and they're in the culture, they're like, oh man, this is a good place for me to be. I don't want to leave this either.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So I think if I understand correctly, I think some kids are not going to fit here, right?
Yeah.
That's the reality, right? So like depending on where they come from and what kind of program they run, right? That's got to factor into, especially in an older player, he may not excel here, right? So every fit is not every kid is not automatically going to be a great fit. For example, and this is not at Nebraska, this is just college football. This is college football, in my opinion.
Okay.
If you are an older coach that has a family, right? That has a family and that has multiple things going on in your life, and you are at the end of your career, you're probably not going to want to deal with a young, immature kid because you're not going to get out of your jump up out of your apartment and go run to his dorm room because that kid needs that, right? So I think it's a matter of identifying who you are as a coaching staff. What is your culture as a coaching staff? Does that kid fit in this culture here? And necessarily just because he's a great player doesn't mean he's going to be a great player here. So I hope I'm answering this question correctly.
Yeah. That's just because you guys have such low turnover.
Yeah.
Right. So when people don't want to leave, regardless of how tough it is here, what you may read or, the demands that you guys put them on as a staff or, Corey Campbell or Kristen and, to the T, all the pieces, like people aren't chomping at the bit to leave. So that I'm wondering, like behind the scenes, there has to be some good work being done in the evaluation process.
Yeah, I think that's really it. I think that's our process as far as making sure that we're getting the right type of person here, or the right type of character. I think that's important. That's such an important key for what we're doing. I mean, like some of the guys we've brought in here, they've never had the amount of accountability check-ins that we have here that they had at other places, right? Like this is not just a place where you're going to come play football and go home, right? You're going to come here and you're going to be coached in everything you do. You're going to leave here a better person, I think. And I think the kids feel that when they get here. I think the players feel that, and I think that's why we've had so much success, to be honest with you.
Hey, you said something last week in your presser. It caught me off guard. It kind of was why I asked the question I did is we're talking about development, which I don't think you get near enough credit for, but you got the same guys back in your room. And
hold on, you got to say that one more time. I didn't hear that. Man. Hey, the thing got blurry, man. I didn't hear it.
Really good at development. You don't get enough credit for development. Is that good? Do you want me to say that?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
All right. So you said something you don't hear often with, I think, the caliber of guys that you could potentially have in this room is they're on another year with you. Like everybody in that room. And the one guy that's not, you recruited. I don't know how many coaches can say that, but I kind of think it speaks to what you're talking about because you said something cool after that. It's like, I know if I need to change my EDD or my everyday drills to either pass pro or their footwork, or maybe it's stance, or maybe it's ball security, because I know the guys, right? Like it's very understated and underappreciated how important that is when you want guys, especially young guys, to like level up the next year is you know exactly what you're dealing with.
That's right. I mean, that's really an advantage that I think I have right now. I think that one, my style of coaching is deliberate, right? So like, just a lot of coaches
I would agree.
are what's that?
I would agree.
I think our style of coaches, some style of coaches, they have their systems, they have their drills, and they just kind of, here's what we're going to do, right? And so I think, and you've seen my running back drills, you've seen my running back meetings, you've seen me coach the guys. I really, to me as a coach, what we're doing in our drill and preparation work has to correlate directly to the football field and to what we're doing either that day or that week or that or that season, right? That it has to make sense to me. Like if we're gonna run, like for example, like running back guys or guys come out there, line the bags up and run through the bags. Well, that's 12 minutes, right? So 12 minutes of bag work, right? If we're not working on eye development of stutter of like a counterplay and what that looks like with the backer squeezing and another backer wrapping and then where your eyes should be and then how you react to that, and you're wasting time in my opinion, right? So like you have to prepare the kids for what they're going to see on the field. You know what I'm saying? And so I think one, that's how you should be coaching, especially when you're doing your meetings and individual work. And two, I think for us, our staff and implemented by Matt, Coach Rule, our staff, we're deliberate with what we're doing in practice, right? Like, so for us, I'm going to put down like, hey, player X, you have to get better today at 1, 2, and 3 things. Hey, player C, you have to get better at 1 and 2 things. Here's the things, and then I'll ask them, what's today's focus for you? Hey, coach, my focus is for hand placement. When I get on a linebacker, my hands need to be on the inside number. I need to work on having violent hands. Hey, coach, my hands is when I catch and tuck the ball, I'm catching the front tip. Immediately have to tuck and get vertical right now, right? So like deliberately making sure they know what one thing at a time, what they're getting better at every single day, I think is a way to develop, right? And so if the kids don't understand what they need to get better at every day, then I think you're just kind of like you're kind of just running the hamster wheel, right? You're putting the drills out there, but like, is it being effective for every kid and specifically the guys that are going to play for you on Saturday?
Yeah, one of the and why I get so passionate about this is obviously just understanding the position, but people sometimes can be a little bit critical or they can assume too much. And I'm just going to take Emmett, for example, where, a year ago, I may say something like during a game in the opportunities, just a little too busy behind the line of scrimmage, or you want to make sure when he's making moves, he's like gaining ground or whatever the critique may be. And then I'm watching it as the year evolves this year. And I'm like, man, look how he presses the point of attack, or the sneaky timing with like duo when he gets motion versus when it's not, or so those little nuances that I'm watching guys develop in terms of their patience and pressing the point of attack. It's like those are intentional, but you don't often hear guys get, and credit's bad. Like I'm not a big, well, make sure this guy gets his pound of flesh, but I do think we assume with the running back position that a lot of it's like 90% on the player and 10% on the coach, when learning how to run is actually a thing. Like I could see that development with EJ in particular, if we're going to use that example, or Mosey, who's actually learning to be a real running back with his vision and patience and anticipating who's playing over the top, or Makai learning to now run behind his pads. Like those are things, like little things that you can see happen that have to be intentional in that running back room.
I'm sorry. I'm leaving this room, but the sensors keep messing me up here. It's unbelievable. At least we get a nice view of the facility.
Yeah, we just get to see this palatial estate that you.
Yeah, that's right. So, I think a couple of things you talked about I want to address. Right, the first thing I think you talked about right there is the running back coach is not, necessarily a teacher or developer. He's just it's mostly the player. That's, to me, when I hear that, it drives me crazy, right? Because you play the position, right? So the elements that you need to learn of all the positions. It's kind of crazy when people say that to me. I just kind of like, man, it's like, wow, man, do you understand how hard it is to dissect your eyes pre-snap and post-snap? and protection in the run game and outside zone, inside zone, tight zone, timing, patience, tempo, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, Makai, this is Makai. Here's Makai here.
Oh yeah, where's Mean Face? Put him
Hey,
on. Where's Buddha?
There goes little knucklehead.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How y'all?
I'm good. So I figure you're smiling because you're with your guy, but man, you look good, man. What's the weight right now?
I'm probably gonna be like 197 today. I was 196 yesterday.
All right. Would you finish your meal at my house this time around with weighing 196?
If I finish the meal at your house, I'll probably be like 200.
EJ, he was so paranoid. He was like watching his diet.
You
look good, bro.
Yeah, this guy tell you, shoot, I'm on every single day around him, man. Hey, what's your weight? What's your weight? You know, I mean, again, it's talking about being deliberate, right? Every guy's got to be, we got to be locked into making sure that, he's a young guy. He's got to learn how to. The next phase is being mature in his diet, and it sounds something so easily, but you have to be very, very disciplined. You know what I mean? So, let me finish my interview, man. I'll get out of here.
Makai, tell him to tell his family hello for me.
I got you.
All right.
So, yeah. So, I guess what I'm saying is here, man. So I think that's kind of a wild statement. You know what I mean? Like as far as the development process isn't important for the running backs, right? So there's some God-given players in the running back position. There's guys where you can hand them the ball and they can just go, right? We're not talking about those guys. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Like there's probably like what, like every year in college football, maybe one or two of those guys, right? Three of those guys. And, so if you have a guy like that, I've been around Saquon Barkley. I've seen that happen, right? So I've seen guys that you can just give the ball and they can figure it out, right? But very rarely does that exist, right? And so when I was assistant running back coach at Carolina, working with Christian, I remember the night before, when Coach Nix I was working under, he's like, "Hey, you got Christian in drills tomorrow." I remember being all nervous, man. I was like, "Oh, I was a young coach, at that time." And I'm thinking, like, man, like, this is the best running back in the world. Like, what am I going to tell this guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? What's he going to learn from me, right? And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be, like, deliberate about the basics and fundamentals. And he missed a read in outside zone, and I ripped him for it, and I come back and say, "Hey, man, you got to press this and hit that." And he looks like, he goes, "Oh, thank you, appreciate that." Next rep, your hands were low. Thank you, appreciate that. And he sent me a text that night saying, "Hey, man, like keep staying on me about the fundamentals. Keep staying on about fundamentals, right?" And I realized, like, that's the most important piece as a running back coach. You have to develop all aspects of the run game and protection game, but you have to develop it. You can only get great at one thing at a time. You can't go into a practice trying to get better at 5 things, right? Like we got, like, Emmett is a great example. Like I could tell you exactly spring season things he had to work on, what he had to achieve. His first year with me, he had to just he had to learn the cycle of the snap, right? Like the play is called, and then there's 6 seconds between the play being called and the ball being snapped. Within those 6 seconds, where do my eyes go?
Mm-hmm.
Where do they belong?
Mm-hmm.
When the ball snapped, where do my eyes go? Right. So as a young player, you have to learn that. Right. So I think his first year with me, he had to learn the cycle of the snap. Right. Making sure his fundamentals were right, his footwork, his mesh point, kept getting the ball, putting his eyes in the right place. And then the second part, once you learn the cycle of the snap, then I think for Emmett, he had to actually go out there and do it, right? He had to go out there and find success. He had to miss reads. He had to miss reads to understand what that feels like and what that looks like, right? So his second year, his first year, you'd hear, "Oh, well, he would stop his feet too much, or he wouldn't hit the hole," right? Because and it wasn't necessarily he wasn't seeing it; he just wasn't experienced at it yet, right? And so the second year, you got to see him really 2 things. You got to see him understand the run game, understand the pass game as far as route technique, and he really learned how to compete, right? Like he learned Ramir Johnson and Dante, he learned how to compete, right? Like in camp during the season. And I think when you learn how to compete and every single practice, you're trying to master your craft as far as what your aiming point is on duo, where your eyes need to be, how I need to react on outside zone, on tight zone, on counter, on pin and pull. Like there's every single run is different. So when you learn that part of it, you come out of that thing like the shiny toy. Like, all right, now I know I have my arsenal, I have my weapons, I have my running back menu. And now, like, for example, last year, Emmett Johnson's deliberate practice was different than Mekhi Nelson's deliberate practice. I had to make sure that when I had free time of 6 minutes, 7 minutes here, I had to work on a choice route step with a hand swipe on Emmett to get reps at that, while Mekhi still had to work on
maybe pressing the point of attack or whatever.
Pressing the point of attack, seeing the mic point. If the wheel flies over top on duo, I can replace the wheel, right? So, like, that's important, man. Like, you got to learn every single thing. You're not going to learn all these little things just one time, just all at once. You have to slow it down, dissect it, and demand you get better at one thing at a time. And that's what you saw with Emmett Johnson.
You guys are so close, and we're weird prima donnas. And I tell these stories, and you talked about a natural guy, and you don't have them often. I mean, the first scrimmage we're watching, they wanted the older guys to cheer on the younger guys. I'm watching, 3s versus 3s and 4s versus 4s. And LP rips off like 7 long runs. These old school ugly Converse, right? And I mean, this is house call after house call. My man Ed Stewart, who was playing defense at the time, he put his arm around me. He said, "Well, young buck, looks like you got your work cut out." Right? So it's just like, and to be able to cheer for those guys and to have our room as tight knit as it was. Like, that's when the magic happens, right? Because what you're talking about, if you get 6 or 7 minutes with EJ, you get a couple of minutes with Mekhi, you get a couple of minutes with Mike. It's like they have to understand and be mature enough to know it's different for me. I may not be getting the same feedback, but it's for me, and then I can cheer for those guys, because that's really when the magic happens in your room as a totality, right? I'm looking at Connor Booth. He may have had the best run of the day the other day, and he didn't say nary a word, right? Nobody said anything to him, and I'm just like, you need a room like that, because the floor gets so much closer to the ceiling that way when your room gets along.
That's right. I think if you're pushing, and I'm going to coach every guy like they're the starter, right? Like, I'm not going to lose focal intent. I'm not going to lose focus on the guys that are playing that we know we're going to play. But we believe that you have to push the bottom of the room. And if you push the bottom of the room, and I mean bottom as far as experience, right? The bottom of the room, that's going to raise the top of the room. There's no question when Emmett would see Mekhi bounce a duo and outrun the defense in practice. There's no question. His mind is like, okay, I got to get on my job here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
I'm ready. Like, when he could have taken a day off for a couple of reps, he's like, "No, man, no."
Exactly right. And that's I'm sure that's how your room was. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh man, this guy is coming for me, man. And so that's healthy competition. It honestly, when I was at the combine with Coach Rule, and the amount of GMs and player personnel people and coaches that came up to me and talked to me about how they loved Emmett's interviews and the way he competed and all those things. Like, it was really it was really satisfying, and I just felt really grateful in that moment to hear all the things that we preach about really come to life. You know what I mean? And so, but you're right, man. I think it's a special, it's competition and pushing each other. That's how you get better. And we're fortunate right now. We got a good room.
Coach, I kind of want to ask you about the relationships within a coaching staff, right? Because I think a lot of times as fans and media, we silo things off, like, oh, the running backs aren't playing well, it's the running back coach's fault, and the wide receivers aren't playing well, it's the wide receiver coach's fault. But especially with your room, right? How important is the relationship between like you and Dana Holgerson and Geep Wade to understand, hey, this is what
Satterfield.
It's Satterfield. Like, and like, this is even to kill shorts, right? Like the blocking on the perimeter is incredibly important to understand, hey, this is what my room does well versus this is what your room does well versus this is the kind of game that Coach Holgerson likes to call. Like, how important are those relationships that maybe people don't see all the time?
I mean, those are extremely important to me. I think like the chemistry that we have, in the room, right? The expectations. One, like if you come to our practice, you're going to see me and Coach Shorts competing.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I want my guys to do great, and he wants his guys to do great. And so I think it keeps us accountable as coaches as well, right? It keeps that energy and making sure that, one, listen, it's got to be professional. There's got to be genuine love there, right? We can't, you got to stay together. We have to leave the room all as one. That's important. And two, I think like us pushing each other helps you get better, right? And so, like it makes the room better, it makes being here better, it makes the energy, your players feel the energy you guys have as a staff, and so, we are a tight crew right now, and so we got to know each other better, and then we got to know each other's individuals, how to push each other, how to communicate with each other. That's a learning process too, right? Like, how is this coach going to respond if I crack a joke at him? Is he going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? So you got to learn those guys. And I think going on year 2 with Coach Holg and DeKeel and now just spending time with Geep, learning his character, and it helps the communication process. And I think that's important. It helps the energy at practice, and the players, especially young teams, they feed off that energy. You know what I mean? And so we read a book, Pete Carroll's Win Forever. And in that book, he talks about he felt when he was at USC that like it was the coach's job to bring the energy to players at practice, and that was a difference maker. And that really hit home for me because that's what we do. That's kind of my mindset, right? I want to make sure that our guys, the running backs, that they understand practice is like a game, and it's no different. That intent. The seriousness of that, the intent, and each rep matters, right? We cannot. There's no time for anything other than elite effort and elite focus on each rep. Because if we miss a rep in a 12 play, if we miss 2 reps on a 10 play script, I mean that's big time. So, the practices are really important.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you 2 things. Number one, you're the only guy other than Coach Williams that I have to wait for like the right moment to go in and try to get a love hug, because you guys, neither one of you talk. You're always intense. Your fists are clenched. I'm like, I just want to go say hi to my guys. I wait, so I always appreciate that. But you referenced the competition with Coach Shorts. I can't believe how tough he is. I tell him every day, whatever the temp is, my man is rocking shorts, Coach Barthel. Like, you got to get DeKeel's toughness when it comes to tackling the weather, because he gets busy out there in some shorts, man. I don't know what it is, but, man, that he gives 2 cares about what the weather's doing.
I'd say, well, one, he's from Jersey, so I understand where that comes from. You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that he got 10 years on. I got 10 years on him, man. So, you know what I mean? I ain't got. He's still trying to prove his toughness. I ain't got to prove it no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm seasoned. You know what I mean?
Don't let DB shame you into trying to wear shorts all the time.
It ain't happening, bro. It is not happening. Trust me. I ain't messing around with that cold, man. I don't know. I never understood that. How does toughness correlate with being cold? I still don't get that.
I'm wearing a jacket in here right now because DB takes this thing down to like 60 degrees every morning.
Oh, man. I remember when I was a player, I come out with my sleeves on. People like, man, you soft. I said, this ain't got nothing to do with being soft, man.
I appreciate the time, man. Coach, the captain gave us his blood cake. I call Keith the captain, right? Because he's always trying to deal. And I appreciate it. You said, hey, did you clear this with Keith? I said, all right, I'll be right back. I said, hey, Keith, can I get Coach? And he's like, is it good with it? I'm like, that's my guy, man. I think I can get him right.
Oh, man. I appreciate y'all having me on here, man. It's been, like I said, I've been waiting to get on here, man. And so I'm really blessed to be here. I took this job. I don't want to keep talking about it. I took this job. I knew what it meant, right? Like to bring the run game back to the standard of college football. I thought that was the ultimate challenge. You know what I mean? And so, not saying that we're done, but I think we made a nice jump last year, and I think that we continue to keep to make that the goal. And I know how important the running back position here is at Nebraska. I know how important the run game here is in Nebraska. I tell recruits that when I'm recruiting them, like, if the running back means more here at Nebraska. And so, yeah, it's really a prideful job. I'm really happy to be here. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm grateful for the fans and their support. And I'm just grateful for you guys and everything. And so I really appreciate you guys having me on here, man. It's been awesome.
Hey, one last thing. When I get in one of your individual drills, I just want you to teach. I don't want to hit the gauntlet. I messed with the arms out there the other day. Still a little stiff. Let's get some WD-40 on those things and loosen those things up a little bit. But I just want you to teach me to walk and talk with my phone. Like, if you can, the interview today with your skills and your eyes still up, that's the old running back in you, never looking at the ground. Teach your boy.
Hey, that's recruiting right there, man. That's FaceTime recruiting right there, man.
That's right. You get reps. That's right.
I get reps at it, man. Distractions. I got lights coming, players coming, man. Come on, man. I'm ready. I'm built for this.
I've been trying to get DB to do a little more recruiting where he's at, but he won't listen to me. So
now I got to play against your guys. See how you go.
Oh, man. I'm for
Yeah, we'll leave that alone. We're good.
I got you.
Appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Great talk with you guys, man. Take care. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Coach.
That's EJ Barthel, the running backs coach.
Make this the summer event at Edwards Jeep and Ram, Council Bluffs and Village Point. Lease the 2026 Jeep Wrangler Sport S starting at $289 a month. Built for the road and ready for summer. This June, the savings are as big as the season. We've also got the 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn starting at $399 a month, or finance at 2.9% APR for 72 months. Don't miss this pitch. Slide into savings at Edwards Jeep and Ram, Council Bluffs and Village Point. It's time to slide into savings at Edwards Chevrolet. Lease the 2026 Chevy Trax LT for just $349 a month. $0 down with your first payment due at signing. 2 great Chevys, one big June event. Slide into a 2026 Chevy Equinox LT for just $399 a month. $0 down with your first payment due at signing. Get to Edwards Chevrolet today. Together, let's drive.
Looking for an easy win for the whole crew? Tuesdays at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill mean one free kids meal with every adult entree. Bring the family, grab a burger or wings, and let everyone enjoy the game day atmosphere. Great food, big screens, and something for everyone. That's a Tuesday done right at Hurrdat Sports Bar. We are joined now by Nebraska offensive line coach Geep Wade. Coach, how are we doing this morning?
Doing great, guys. Appreciate you guys.
The least surprising thing ever, you're on the move. This is just kind of what you do. It never stops, man. In the car, making time for us. I appreciate it.
No, this is a fun time of year. You know, as a coach, we're all competitors, so we enjoy this time of the year too. And you're out here competing for the best players in the country, and we want to bring some of them back to Nebraska with us.
Coach, all right, you kind of open the door here looking for the best players in the country. I'm fascinated by recruiting evals and player evals and all that. So when you're out there looking for a guy, I'm trying to figure out, because I don't really have a football background, so I'm trying to figure out as I'm watching offensive line play, would I rather have a guy, if I'm in your shoes, that has the feet that I'm looking for and I can teach him the hands, or has the hands that I'm looking for and I can teach him the feet, or is it position specific?
You know, I tell kids all the time, we all want them to be bigger, stronger, and, sometimes that takes maturity. That takes age. We're recruiting 16, 17-year-old kids sometimes, especially when you're recruiting 28s and 20, you're a year ahead. But I've always been a coach that I like athleticism. I think that if you have great feet, you can get in front of blocks and the strength will come over time. If you're real strong and you don't have great feet, then I think that's a deterrent, and you'll have to keep developing, and you won't play as early. So I'm more of an athletic O-line coach. Don't get me wrong. In the Big Ten, I want to be as big as we can be, but athleticism is something we look for.
Coach, you're fascinating. I've watched you since the bowl game. It was the first position group that I wanted to spend time with down at Gorman, and I'm kind of watching your group, and it's fascinating to me because as a guy that's partly responsible here because of O-line play, I've always loved it. My best friend was an O-lineman, and I was like, gosh, I wonder what this transition is going to be like, because that group was so closely connected to their previous coach. They moved as one, they practiced as one, they were always out first. They were they were the last ones out there. And when I watch you work, how quickly they took to your juice and your style, and I call it the intimacy of teaching, right? Where you'll pull guys to the side. You're very finite. I'm like, this is actually fun to watch. Is that how you prefer to coach, or is it during this time in the off season that's how you can coach?
I think as you get older in this profession, you actually become who you are, and you're tried and true to who you are, what you believe in. And as Coach Rule always says to us, the great ones change. I've changed over time, but I think you change with minute things. I think you are who you are. And I'll tell you a quick story about me that kind of changed my career path. Was I was out of coaching the COVID year. I'd been in East Carolina, didn't have success we had, and I truly felt like a failure that we didn't get it done there. And I sat out a year, and it was the best thing I ever did in my life. And I learned that the things that I thought mattered didn't matter. All that matters is the kids, the type of kids you bring into your program, the type of kids you bring into your room. And the last 5 to 6 years have been the most successful and rewarding of my life. And I truly am comfortable in my own skin of what I look for, and what type of kids that I want, and truly believe, Georgia Tech was really, really good to me. Coach Key and Coach Rule are actually really good friends, and there are a lot of similarities. And that place really propelled my career. Because of the type of kids that you recruit, the type of kids that that we're looking for here, that are just wired the right way. That it's just like you guys. You have guys that you guys interview, and it's guys that love life, love football, love to come to work because it's easy. It's easy when you say it's easy, but it's not easy. Week 7, and we're getting ready for Indiana at home, and it's a Tuesday, and Coach rolls up your tail, and it's just you gotta find guys that love it, and I love it, and that's something that I love what I do. I believe in myself and Coach Teasley, and I just think it's a great profession.
Fascinating, because one of the reasons I rock with Coach Rule, we're clearly fairly close, and I love his authenticity. And he said something a couple months ago about, the longer he's done this. We were watching some film on a high school player, and he said, this boils down to how much do you love playing, and I want tough guys. Where we hear a lot about measurables, we hear a lot about athleticism, and it's just interesting to see how you guys have both settled in on this. So I have to kind of ask, you're coming from Georgia Tech. I think Coach Rule would be extremely, I hear it from everybody, right? Just knowing so many guys in the program, demanding, wants your best. You feel like you leave 30 minutes and you need to be a better person. Like, I get all that. It's what kind of draws me to his style of how to attack life. What was it about leaving Georgia Tech to come to Nebraska where you're like, this is the place I want to be?
I'll tell you the honest truth. I don't know if you feel like you've done everything you can in a place at Georgia Tech, and we, I loved every second there, and it made me a better coach at Georgia Tech, and the type of kids, and because I truly think we were the hardest playing unit in the country last year. And I tell these kids every day here, we got a lot to get better, but we can be the hardest playing offensive line in the country, bar none, black or white. That's what I want. But Rule's that guy. Like, I've known Coach Rule for 20 years. I used to go visit him all the time at Temple. I'll tell you a quick story about Matt. I went to visit on a spring break, him and Coach Satterfield and Coach Snow and all the guys that were with Matt. And I just missed a mat drill in one of Coach's famous mat drills, and he did one for me the next day. He called the team in at 6 a.m. So he probably didn't like me that I was there, but I've always followed Matt in his career. I've always been drawn to work for him. And, after this year, I had a couple opportunities, and he called me one night. I was at my son's basketball practice in early December in Atlanta, Georgia. And, I basically took the job without even asking my wife. I was like, Coach, when we get home, can you talk to my wife? And but I was like, I'm going to Nebraska. That's where I want to be. And I think in my life right now, in the middle of my career, that's where I need to be. And listen, I know there's no honeymoon in Nebraska. I get that, and I tell our kids that every day. I think you become who you are. If you work hard and you callous yourself and you have a mentality and you just do it day and day and day, it just becomes who you are. And I think that's going to become who we are.
Coach, you talked about being able to play harder than everyone else. And over the last couple of years, that's started to be a thing where that's what I look for in guys, right? What's their motor? What's their competitiveness? What drives them to be able to do that? When you're trying to get that out of your offensive line group, like, how do you coach that in a practical sense? Because it's really easy to say, right? Everybody's like, oh, we're going to be the hardest playing team in the country. How do you coach that on a day in, day out basis?
That's a great question. I think, a lot of coaches yell at people, get your dang hand inside, or, I don't do that. I coach those guys. But I'll demand the effort, the finished part. And and of course I've learned over time, with coaching Keelan Rutledge last year, you had everybody come in, the scouts and stuff. And I learned from him a little bit, hey, Coach, I've never seen a guy look you in the eye when you're coaching them. I've never seen a guy sprint from the indoor to the outdoor field. I've never seen a guy that when Coach Key calls the team up at the end of practice, he's the first one. He sprints up there. To be great, you got to be different. And I came to Nebraska to be great. I want to be the best. We're all competitors. So I think that you have to find the like-minded guys guys that, not just love football, but love life, because there's going to be adversity, and how you fight through adversity. And, kids are going to have a bad day in class, or their girlfriend or stuff. So, we just want to be guys that are, that love life, love football. And I think that if you get those type of guys, you can coach them hard with the effort part, the finish part. And, so I just think that I try to coach. I'm going to teach the fundamentals, but you got to demand the effort and the physicality, or you won't play for me and coach.
I just kind of, again, watching you guys a ton, and I look at the different personality types, like Mbenga, who you guys just got, kind of young and super jolly, good-natured, lovable kid. I mean, of course, I know Justin Evans forever, who I'm like, if I'm going down a dark alley, that guy's probably the first that I want rocking with me. And so when I'm watching you and Coach Teasley teach, you can tell some people listen for information. Some people listen for like transformation. When these guys are getting instruction, can you feel the fact that whether it's attention to detail or toughness or their physicality, like they're looking for transformation? It seems like that's how they're taking in the information, the teaching that you're giving them.
Well, I tell them every day, I walk in the meeting every day and I start with, you guys play for who? And they'll say Nebraska, and I think that starts the mentality of our meeting every day. And, with those guys wanting to be great. And, I think that our kids are always up in our office now, me or Lonnie. And I think that they want to be great. That doesn't mean you're going to be great. You've got to want to be great, and then do it on a daily basis. And there's things that we're working on right now to get better right now, and for June and July. But these kids, Justin's always up there. We're always texting. He wants to be great, and I think that, the good thing for me is, in my career, I had a guy that was a first rounder that I know how it's done. And Keelan Rutledge was different. So, hey, Justin, you're different, or Pritch or Paul and the group. But and the good thing about it is, we brought some new guys in. I truly believe in this. We brought Paul Mabing in. I'd known Paul for 5 years. I knew Brendan Black. I did a home visit with Paul's brother last year, and Paul was home. So I knew the family. I know what they're about. And when you're in the portal, I think that matters a little bit more than, okay, this guy was this. So I knew when we brought those two guards in, that I knew we were getting.
Coach, you mentioned Paul Mbenga there from LSU, and there was kind of this story there about how you just kind of weren't taking no for an answer on him, right? Like, what was it about him? Yeah, obviously, the relationship mattered there, but what was it about him that you're like, this is a guy that we have to get?
I just thought he belonged at Nebraska. I thought that the other schools, we were all business. I thought that he could thrive in Nebraska. I thought that he could thrive with our fan base living in Lincoln. I just thought that he would thrive there. And, he called us one day. He's like, hey, Coach, I think I'm leaning toward this. And we were just like, no, you're not. And, and his family was, they're just unreal people. And, they came up the spring game, and they're just, that makes it better too. You just know the family, you know the type of person Paul is. And, and then Paul, we had some people that help, me and Matt have some good friends in the profession that said, hey, these guys will take care of you. These guys are, they're on the up and up. And so it wasn't just us at the end of the day, but it's been a great fit, and such a great kid. It's going to have a great career too.
It's just fascinating, just having intimate knowledge of like guys that were already there, the Gatulas, the Sledges, the Justin Evans. I watched, Pritchett's development last year. I know what Spindler told me behind the scenes about the culture from Notre Dame to Nebraska. And to hear you talk about, because these guys, they're pretty good natured, but they want to perform well. There has to be something, some indicators, something that you're seeing, and maybe it's just the familiarity of knowing what you're looking for, but they all say the same things today, even though they're coming from very different starting points. It's fascinating on your impact so far.
It's not me. It's actually the type of kids we're kind of going back in a circle here. It's kind of just the type of kids that you bring, and that matters to me more than anything is just the mentality and the toughness. And these guys like Paul and Brendan are coming in. They're just grown men. They're at every meal. They come extra. They don't miss class. So they want to be great. And then they've just thrived under Matt's culture, and this year it's been gritty and relentless execution, and they've just bought in, and those are gritty guys, and that's what Matt wants in this program, and I'm right behind him in that.
Coach, so I'm fascinated by kind of the personalities that teams take on, and I think sitting here at Nebraska and having lived here my whole life, I think there is a sense that if Nebraska could take on the personality of an offensive line group, that we would all kind of feel a lot better about where the direction of the football program's going. Have you seen,
Yes,
you always talk about like quarterbacks or the skill position players and stuff like that. What have you seen about when a team takes on the personality of a quality offensive line group and how that changes things?
Well, I'll get even more intimate with you guys. I think I might be the only O-line coach in the history of college football to work for. I worked for the late Sean Clark at App State, who that really taught me a lot.
It's a heck of a pull.
He was an offensive line coach, one of the best around, and just the way he was just simple. The kids loved him, and it was just a great time of my life. And I got chills now talking about Sean. And then I went to work for Coach Key, who is intense, and just we practice so hard. It's just become who we are, and just just kind of flipped it with a culture, with a mentality. And then Matt deep down is an offensive line coach, so because Matt's one of the smartest coaches I've ever been around. So now we're talking ball, we're talking mentality, and it's like. I'm the only guy that's ever probably worked for 3 offensive line coaches, and people are always like, it's got to be hard. No, it's actually easy because those coaches actually get it. They know that offensive line is an imperfect game. It's an imperfect group. It's not ever going to be perfect, and the only thing that really can make you great is a mentality, is a nastiness, is an edge. People like to say standard. I don't like to say that a lot, but there is an edge here in Nebraska about playing offensive line, and that's what attracted me here. And I know it's there's no honeymoon phase. I know that, so I wake up every day knowing that heck, I want to be the best. So. I want the best group to be out there, and I can just tell you this: we're going to play hard, we're going to play physical, and that's what Matt's going to demand, and I think that's going to take us a long way this year.
Coach, I've watched kind of the chemistry and the development in the quarterback room. I knew Latif was well liked. Kalen would come back for Bible study and stuff, even when he was back at Virginia. Well liked. AC off to a very good start. I asked Caleb and some of the guys. I saw Quinn Clark the other day, and I asked him about Calandria and how they loved the fact that because ball started so early that you guys just got a chance to bond on the field. How do you and it's just quick, right? You guys are all common gold. You're out there on the field. How important was it, or how much did you like the early spring start where you guys had to hit the ground running, and it was just about ball?
I think it's huge, and we didn't go too early. Matt had a 6-week, to get stronger, bigger, stronger. But I was talking to somebody, friends in our profession. But so we had 10 days without a recruit on campus, which means we could totally focus on our team at hand. I think that was big because in March, there's kids everywhere, at every practice, and after it takes some of your time and all that, which is a good thing. And but I think we had 10 really good days with our guys with no distractions. And then we had a little break in March, and then we finished up. But usually when spring ball, you finish April 20th, they got exams, they go home. You never watch your spring cut-ups. You never get to meet with them. And then they got May off, so they really hadn't done a lot in 2 months. And what we got to do was in April, under the time limitations that the NCAA gives you, is we got to spend some time with them and do some things. So really, it's like I tell our guys that football's not going to stop. So it's, hey, here we are. It's like Pritchett, here we are. Okay, that's a good starting point. You're not even close to where you need to be, but here's the steps that we can take now because we know what you did early on in the spring to become better for September. So
I got to get a little nerdy because I like schematics and I love the intricacies. Coach Rule talked a lot about, the elements of counter and how he wanted it to fit with the duo and some of the line schemes, which is, I kind of nerd out over that. I'm watching spring. I watched you in the winter at the bowl practice, just the growth and the timing and the nuances. How cool or not cool, that's a terrible word. How much fun is it knowing that some of your quarterbacks have some of the same skill sets that a guy like Haynes King had? Obviously, played a lot longer, very gifted. I get it. But what it takes to play in front of those athletic kind of quarterbacks with how hard you guys play up front with your run schemes. Has that kind of been a subtle, easier transition? Fun? Like, how are you looking at the nuances?
I look at that as a coach of, at Georgia Tech, we didn't have the best offensive line, or but we won a lot of big games by finding a way to get it done and not being hard-headed. And I think that's what I learned there. I think that, okay, hey, if they're stuffing the run, well, we got ways to get it outside. You know what I mean? We got ways to gain numbers with the quarterback because we were going to do whatever it takes with Buster and Brent to win a game, no matter how we got it done. And so I think we learned a lot. I learned a lot. I was thinking the other day I was putting all my stuff together for June OTAs, and in 3 years at Georgia Tech, we ran a version of counter 497 times. And I talked to Matt like, we both believe in the Bruce Lee quote of, okay, one kick 10,000 times or 10,000 kicks one time. Well, we're going to get good at something. And that was kind of our mantra. And of this is who we are, what we are. Hey, we're going to knock a dent in the front. We're going to pull, we're going to kick, we're going to wrap, and we're going to create some movement. And it's something that, it's a play scheme that you can do a lot off of. And I think that we'll, at Nebraska, we're going to evolve that. We really didn't put some of it into the last week before the spring game, so we really haven't got to a lot of it yet. But just the fundamentals of it, we've preached and we've worked it during these OTAs, and we will continue to work that all summer long.
It's no coincidence of one of the only 6 good runs I ever had at Nebraska. One of them, my favorite, is counter trap. Yep. Anytime you get the short set pulls and just smashing faces like. Watching the spring game, I
hope Coach Brown's listening right now because he's probably excited. If you know what I mean.
So I'm Case Crooks. My play-by-play guy is probably wondering why I'm like nerding out. We're going down the circles on the field, and I was like, "Did you see?" Or just the pet plays and the counter concepts. For a guy that loves offensive line play, I thought it was sensational, even though because you guys say, hey, we're just not putting it in. Just the nuances and the creativity, man. I love it. It's pretty to watch.
It is. And it's a very personnel driven play. The multitude of what you can do with it. With the nakeds, the boots like y'all did, when we're studying a lot of that right now with Dana and Matt and as an offensive staff, but it's something that I believe in. I believe that athleticism in the polls and the type of kids we're recruiting to that, and once again, you don't want to be a coach that after the season you flip on your cut-ups and you ran this 12 times and you ran this 14 times and you got good at nothing. I can promise you that will not happen here. We're gonna hang our hat on something, and then we'll have auxiliary runs off of it, of course, to attack defenses. But you're not going to be good when you just do too much. And I'm a big believer in that. At the end of the day, hey, it's not going to be perfect, but if there's someone in front of you put your hat on him and let's go, and whether your hand's 6 inches outside, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter to me. We'll coach that. We'll learn from that. But, just the physicality of the run scheme of the counter that you can coach and that, I think that helps the room. And I think they've enjoyed it so far.
Coach, don't let DB be humble. This dude went for like 6 yards of carry over 4 years. So
I know, yeah. With 6 yards of carry, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I gave him multi-rare. It's like 5'8", but whatever.
Okay, that's our new goal, to be 6.1 per carry this thing.
Hey, I love it. I love it.
Coach, so you brought up Dana there, and I'm fascinated by this because we've seen this go poorly here in the past with kind of different coaching staffs where the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach aren't necessarily on the same page as far as the plays that the offensive coordinator wants to call aren't the plays that are necessarily fitting to the skill set of the offensive line. How important has that relationship been about getting on the same page with Dana and getting on that, like, hey, this is the stuff I think we're going to be able to do really well. How does that match up with the stuff that you want to do as an offensive coordinator?
I think that Dana's awesome to work for. It's kind of an honor to work for him. I think that with his background, with the Texas Tech, the Mike Leach, and he's evolved over time, and wanting to run the ball and be very efficient in the throw game and all that, and then I worked for the guy named Buster Faulkner, who they had he kind of had the same background, and at Georgia Tech we were 1 or 2 in the league every year running the football, so they evolve over time, and Dana's just been great. I think that, like, working with Buster, I kind of think about what Dana wants, and wants it simplicity, wants routine plays, and I'm all about that. So we're keep it simple, come off the ball, be physical, and that's what Dana.
Oh, got a little bit of cutout there.
I was like, we might have lost the reception there for a second. I think this happened a second ago, and he came right back. So we'll give it a minute here. But that question came from Kenny. Appreciate him chiming in here on that one.
Shane, if you get him back, just tell him we got like 2 more questions, and we'll get him out of here because I know he's got to go recruit.
Do we have our screen? There we go.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there we go, Coach.
All right, couple quickies here, Coach.
Yes, sir.
I love I would say this over the last handful of years, and sometimes people give me a hard time just because Coach Rule and I do have a really good relationship, but I'd rather be right than well liked, right? So I try to be objective. One of the things that I liked over the last couple of years was the infrastructure in the building. Like the protocol, the culture, how the guys go to work. Guys don't get in trouble. They go to class. The academic schedules with Dennis and those guys. Like, there's been the nutrition, so many good things behind the scenes. And I see this intentional effort to have cohesiveness and tough guys in the building. I watch you and Coach Teasley work. Famously, I was behind a tandem of offensive line coaches, and Coach Teasley has this great personality, and you guys can spread and conquer. And I think he seems like the type of person that's never met a stranger. I watch you guys work together. You share. There's this cohesion that has to be contagious when you see 2 guys that are highly respected, tremendous recruiters, great teachers. And sometimes I can't tell who's supposed to be doing what, that it's in such unison. Has that been fun for your guys to watch your 2 relationship evolve?
Unreal. He is such a great friend. I've known Lonnie for 10 years, and and I'll even go a step further. When I was at Georgia Tech those 3 years, I had an assistant and a full-time assistant, and I've learned, and like Coach always says, we grow.
Oh, shoot, we might have lost him again.
We'll get him back. To watch them work, man,
yeah,
it's.
I'm glad you asked about Lonnie because that was one of the things I wanted to ask him about, and hopefully he'll be back here in a second. But
it's just cool to watch him work. I don't always enjoy going to watch and spending one time in one particular area, but sometimes when I
Are you
start,
there? I'm sorry.
Yep. Sometimes when I start with the O-line group, I just stay there.
You were
Can
talking
you hear
about
me?
your-
Yep, we
Yep.
got you,
You were talking about your relationship with Lonnie.
Coach Teasley. Go ahead, Coach.
Are you there?
Yep, we got you. We got you.
I don't think he has audio.
He might not be able to hear us.
Okay, I was just giving him the thumbs up.
Coach, can you hear us there? I'm not sure he can hear us there, Shane. But yeah, I'm fascinated by, because for a long time, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, it seems like there wasn't this dynamic of having kind of multiple offensive line coaches, right? Like that wasn't the case until the staffs opened up.
Although I did think they had a pretty fantastic GA. Didn't get a ton of run, but he was really good.
Under
ahead.
Donnie.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I was curious about as a guy that.
Oh, we got him back.
Coach, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
There we go.
I'm sorry. I was getting a call and it messed up my stream. So, but
I'm just glad you're tech savvy. 1 for Coach Wade, 0 for Coach Rule.
you have to be. But
right.
to Lonnie, to be great, you have to have two nowadays. You development, like when I'm on the road, they're there meeting, vice versa. When he's on the road, I'm there. These guys got to have. You can't, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. When Coach Rule said, "What do you think about Lonnie?" I said, "Call him today. Get him here tomorrow." So for us to be great, and he's we think exactly alike. We can look at each other and be like, "Yeah, that's hard," or "That's not," and we're just different ways of approaching. He's a little bit more laid back and that. So he's a great person, great coach. I'm just excited he's here.
Last one from me, Coach. I gotten a chance to know Coach Brown pretty well along the D-line. That's obviously the other side of the ball that the fans are really wanting to rally around. How much fun has it been to go against and see a guy that's as competitive and technically sound? He coached Tyler. These guys are different. I joked with RVP at the end of spring. I said, "Man, you're like 2 inches taller." And he's like, "Man, I'm just more confident. I know what I'm doing." And around Coach Manning too, like how much fun is it to develop kind of at the same time with your counterpart, because you both have to get each other better?
It's been great. I rode with Rob yesterday, or for 3 hours, just talking ball and his story and then with Coach Brown, working for him, Coach Manning, and the success they had. And like the good thing about that, I can tell you that there's just no egos. We're all about ball. We're all there to make each other better. When we do one-on-one pass rush, when someone beats Pritch inside or something, hey, Coach Manning, why did he go inside right there? There's instant feedback of coaching, and at the end of the day, it's really all that matters. And just great coaches, great motivators, and I really just their scheme is very well technical sound, and so I enjoy it. It makes us better every day.
Coach, I'll get you out of here on this, and you've sort of talked about this in terms of becoming comfortable in your own skin over the last 6 years and things like that. One of the reasons that I'm such a believer and ride with Coach Rule, even though I don't have the relationship with him that DB does, is since he got here, he's felt like he's been about the right things, right? He's transparent, he's authentic, and I want those things to be enough. Hard. Yeah, he works his ass off. Like, I want those things, especially at a place like Nebraska, to be enough to win. In your experience, in terms of, you've been at a lot of different places, you were just at a place at Georgia Tech that you said, as a head coach, pretty similar personality-wise to Coach Rule, and that's not an easy place to win, as we've seen historically. Just tell me, when is that enough to win? Like, having those personality traits, the things that have drawn to me about Coach Rule, in your experience, like, is that enough to win?
Yeah, because you're going to win close games. You're going to win tough games in the fourth quarter. You're going to be built for that, and that's what we're working on right now. And I know Coach Rule's been self-evaluating himself, and like I do, and like you guys do, and it's just like when I leave his meetings, it's like I want to go run through a brick wall, and we got to have great players. We all know that, but we can also take the players.
Damn it!
People, stop calling Coach Wade. Stop calling our guy.
He's busy. He said we could have great players, but I had a feel if I was going to get the goosebumps over a walk-off, it sounded like it might be it.
I'm just saying I better be a 5-star calling. That's all. No, I'm not. Okay, there he is.
Tech savvy, man.
I made the joke, Coach. I was like, I hope that's a 5-star calling because that was about to be a great answer.
It's actually another coach here in town. He's like, where you at, Chief? You know what I mean? So,
all right.
But no, the relentless pursuit of being great for Matt, and it's why I'm here. And I think that everybody in that building's got his back. I come to work every day. I don't want to let him down. He's just got that personality of, we got each other's back. Let's go to work and let's do this the old school way, and let's get after and let's be physical and go get good players. But I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to work for Matt, and I'm just excited to show everybody what we can be, and fast.
The Kia Summer Sticker Sales event is on at Edwards Kia. Lease the 2026 Kia Sportage Hybrid S all-wheel drive starting at $299 a month. Edwards Kia is on a winning streak. This June, the savings are as big as the season. We've also got the 2027 Kia Telluride S all-wheel drive starting at $469 a month. Don't wait. Slide into savings with the Edwards Kia Summer Sticker Sales event. Slide into savings at Edwards Hyundai. Finance the 2026 Hyundai Santa Fe at 0% for 72 months. This June, the savings are as big as the season. We've also got the 2026 Hyundai Kona SE all-wheel drive. Sign and drive starting at $287 a month with 0 down. Don't miss this pitch. Slide into savings at Edwards Hyundai. It's time to slide into savings at Edwards Nissan. Lease the 2026 Nissan Rogue Platinum starting at $379 a month, a platinum lease worth driving home. This June, the savings are as big as the season. We've also got the 2026 Nissan Pathfinder SV starting at $399 a month, while supplies last. Don't miss your pitch. Slide into savings at Edwards Nissan.
The fine folks at Next Gen, they are so good. And I get it. You see male in the name. It doesn't have to just be for men. It can be for your significant others, your daughters, whatever works for you. They are equal opportunity. Great, easy location. The phone number 402-614-9700. From at-home tests to peptides to ED, whatever you need to feel better about you, make sure you visit the fine folks at Next Gen. Again, 402-614-9700.
That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. We are happy to be joined now by Phil Snow. He's the associate head coach at Nebraska. Coach Snow, how are we doing this morning?
What's up, guys?
Coach, how we doing, buddy? We got you set up. Like, who helped you? That's all I want to know. How'd we get this done?
Well, our video guy's pretty good, Martin. So he got me. You're right about that. I don't know anything I'm doing with this video stuff.
What time did you get up this morning?
Oh, I normally get up between 4 and 4:30 every morning.
That's what I heard. Did you hit the 10-minute plank?
Today I'm doing it today. I've been working out at noon, trying to change my routine. So.
You want to shock the body? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm trying something different. You know, when you get my age, you got to be different.
Hey, so listen, speaking of getting out of bed, I don't know what you've done to my son, but he absolutely thinks the world of you. I asked him yesterday, I said, hey, we got Coach Snow on. And he's like, oh, man, I might have to tune in for that. Can you send me a link? And I go, I've been doing this for years, and at no point have you ever been, oh, I rock with my dad. I want to see what he's doing. Like, I don't get it. From day one, you guys have been kind of connected. I asked him why. He said he's a straight shooter, and he's a super good teacher. Would you agree with those adjectives?
No, Caleb's your kid's a great kid. So really intelligent, wants to learn. So, over the years, I mean, I've been coaching 49 years, so I maybe learned a few things to help players. So, but I've got to stay in my lane. So, we've got coordinators and position coaches, so I try to help when I can.
So, Coach, I want to talk about that for a second here, because I do think there's a lot of people that are like, what is his lane? How does that work with the existing defensive staff, especially? Like, how would you describe your role within the staff and the way it's constructed?
Well, I think one of the things that I was really fortunate, the old coaches, when I grew up, mentored us young guys. And when we weren't doing stuff that they thought was correct, we would sit down and visit about it. And, that is kind of a lost deal. So, and Matt knows that I like to mentor coaches. I try to help them in any way we can. If you just look at the staffs we had at Temple and Baylor, where they're at today, is amazing. So that's one of my jobs, is to help with the staff. And then the second is that if, I sit in the defensive meetings and if in the staff meetings, obviously, and if there's something I think that can help, or a different idea that may help, I bring those things up. Now, if they don't want to use them, that's fine. I just think there's different ways of doing things. And if you haven't done them, I think it's important that you hear that there are different ways of doing it and analyze, every avenue you can to win. So that's really my role in the staff.
We don't have to compare and contrast, because I don't think there's real growth in that. But if I start with where we're at with guys in the building, and you and I have watched a lot of practices together, I think one of the things that I'm enjoying right now is the actual teaching part, where our guys can get on a knee, they'll pull kids to the side. We're very specific. I think Yelk just loves football, and Rob, Coach Brown.
Yep.
And it's so intentional. Is there still that place? You hear all the got to win now, and there's no honeymoon, but we still want to develop too. Do you like how you're meshing, or those worlds are coexisting, where you got to do some portal stuff, but you had a real high roster retention. You're still teaching. Like it looks a little different from my vantage point, at least this year.
Yeah, I think the staff that Matt hired on defense are really good teachers. They all came from lower levels, most of them, and started at lower levels and worked their way up. So, they have a burning desire to be successful and teach and get players to perform. If you look at Indiana, that's what they've done. They've done a great job of coaching their players. And so I think this staff they're really good teachers, and I've had fun being around them. They like football. They want to hear different ideas. And so it's been fun.
Let me ask you something, because people say this a lot. I remember one time Coach Pelini was talking. He took the podium and he was talking about a couple of players, and he said, "You know what? You could tell he really loves football." And I think to the layperson, it can take people a little back. Like, well, how do you do it if you don't really love it? And I would explain, like, sometimes people just do things because they're good at it, but I don't know how much they love it. When you say they're football guys, do you think we misinterpret like what that really means? Because sometimes you'll think, well, they've been coaching. How aren't they like football guys? But there's levels to this, right?
Oh, there certainly is. And the end product is the video, is how you play, right? How hard you play, how physical you play, how detailed you are, and this staff has proven that over time. If you watch their video, their guys play hard, they're physical, and they know exactly what to do. So that's the bottom line. People that love football, you can tell by how their players play football. So that's how I would grade if I wasn't a football coach.
Huh.
That's really interesting. Go ahead.
No, that's fascinating. So because and listen, I know Coach Rule really well, not near as well as you, but he's super transparent with me, and I think he talked about wanting to go. He goes, the longer I do this, DB, the more I want to find guys that love football, that love competing. Do you see that, or do you see the intentionality in that with who he wants in the building? Because you don't just stumble in to those attributes, right? You got to try to recruit it, and then you have to fine tune it. Can you see it from the top down approach?
Yeah, there's no question. So, over the years, we've always said, if you want a kid that intercepts the ball, find one that does it at every level, right? They're not going to just do it at your level. And so it's the same thing with toughness and people that love football. I'll give you an example, and I tell the coaches this. I said, guys, how do you evaluate whether a kid loves football? Well, in the old days, what we would do is when we went to the home visit, we would go in their bedroom because their bedroom is who they are. And if there's no football in their bedroom, he doesn't love football. And so you have to find ways, because kids will tell you they love football, and they do it because they're good at it and what it brings to them, but they really don't love it. And that's why I think like if you take Indiana, they have went out in the portal and they always get older players because they can evaluate on video whether they love football.
Yeah.
And how well they play. If you look at their portal guys, they're 23 years old. And so they're not taking chances on that. They want the end product already there. And so my point is that if you want a tough kid and a kid that loves football, you better recruit one, because sometimes you can bring a kid along in those areas, but you'd prefer to have those qualities coming in.
Coach, talking about qualities you prefer coming in, I want to kind of move to the coaching staff here for a second, because I find it really interesting. We have these conversations about continuity all the time, right? You want to have continuity on your players. You want to have continuity on your staff. But it's also really important to have guys that fit right. And a lot of times you don't know if it's a good fit until people get there or until it starts working out. How do you said you've been coaching for almost 50 years here. Like, how do you kind of balance the idea of, it'd be nice to keep a group together for several years versus, hey, when it's not working, it's not working and you got to move on?
Yeah, I think Matt did a nice job of that in this offseason. I think there were some things that he didn't like. That doesn't mean that the people that he were doing stuff that weren't great coaches, but they just didn't fit into who he was. So he went out and made some adjustments and got the people that he believed are going to fit the culture that's here. So, I mean, that's what you got to do. A lot of times, it doesn't mean when a guy leaves that he's not a great coach. He just doesn't fit the culture. And each program, there's different ways to skin a cat. When we went to Baylor, guys, Art Briles, they practiced for an hour and 15, 20 minutes. That's all they practiced. They met for a half an hour a week with the players and won 80-some% of their games. Well, we weren't structured that way. You know, our deal is hard work and put in the hours. And so there's just different ways to skin a cat. So sometimes a guy just doesn't work out from a philosophical standpoint and you got to move on. Doesn't mean they can't coach.
I mean, I want to pull it. We went through this deal with Athlons. There's anonymous coaching quotes, and there's something interesting at the tail end of this on Coach Rule. Obviously, somebody that I like a ton. I've spent a ton of time around, but I've been very open about. I'm like, gosh, I there's this part of me that would love to come to work for him, but it would be tough to work for him because he's very demanding. Like he works extremely hard. And I think he wants you to earn money, right? He just doesn't. We had these conversations about him not wanting his staff or his players to think this is Disneyland because they have it so good at Nebraska, right? He's always working against that. I want you to read I want you to read the bottom part of this quote. Can you pull this up for? You can block us and leave Coach Snow on here. The bottom, it says, head coach Matt Rule had. He's got some great aspects. He can make you run through a wall, but there's just always so much turnover with the staff. I know that's a tough environment for those coaches to be in. Rule makes it like that on purpose because he doesn't want you to get comfortable. I don't want to say his model isn't going to work, but I don't know. Like when you hear that, do you have any? How do you ascertain that anonymous synopsis of the work environment?
Well, I'll be honest with you I was with Matt 10 years and we didn't have very much turnover. So I don't think any organization, I think the more you can keep your people in place that believe and everybody's on the same page and working to the same goals, you don't want to lose people. I think good organizations don't, but I think this is, Matt, through the process has, there's some guys that have come in that just haven't fit. And so, that if they don't fit, you have to move on.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's happened here. It's not, I'll give you an example about who Matt is. I was a DC at the Carolina Panthers. And after our second year, we were second in the league in defense. And he would come in and address everything that we did not do well. And the coaches in the NFL said, who the hell is this guy? What's he talking about? We're second in the league in total defense. And every time he comes in here, it's negative.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not negative. You have to, if you don't continue to grow and get better every year, and that includes the scheme evolving and because people catch up. And Matt knows that. So he is always demanding that we're trying to find an edge to put us over the top. And so he's going to continue to do that at Nebraska until he gets over the top. And we have not gotten over the top yet. So if it took a few staff changes, if he's in there questioning certain things, then you have to listen. He's done it. He's been successful. And so it's not, everybody said Nick Saban was really hard to work for. No, yeah. Nick Saban was just demanding every day.
And he could turn over a staff. Because the thing that I thought that was interesting about that quote, why I wanted to get your take on it, because I think we both think very highly of Coach Rule. And one of the reasons why I would tell Ravi, he's like, you're going to leave me one day for Nebraska. And I'm like, the one thing that I would question me is every time I have a conversation, doesn't matter if we're eating or we're at practice, I always typically leave. And I think to myself, I have got to be better, right? Like there's just this aspect. He doesn't really listen to complaining. He doesn't like bitching and moaning. Like, And so I had to like kind of self-assess real time. I'm like, all right, that wouldn't be hard to be around. I just would have to focus on the right things. So I'd have to ask myself, is that something I could do? Not whether his vantage point was unhealthy or not. I just have to say, if I'm not going to be able to complain.
Yeah, am I built that way?
Am I really built that way? You know what I mean? Like it just forces you to reevaluate. Instead of talking about what you're not or what you don't have, he just likes to talk about solutions. That takes a very certain type of self-aware person in this profession.
It does. I think if you address life that way, you're going to be pretty successful. I worked for a guy for 14 years, Bruce Snyder. He's now dead. He's a hell of a football coach. And if you ever brought up or complained about something, then you had to have the answer that you thought would cure it. And I think, you can complain about stuff, but have a solution for it. Too many of us, we complain and that's all we do, right? That we haven't thought it through and said, okay, how can we fix this? And so I think that's the big issue. How do you fix things that are not right? And you can, and so that's who Matt is. Matt, he doesn't mind if you bring up something that you don't like, but have a solution for it. And if you do, he'll think through it, and then it leads to a staff discussion. And normally, with all the great minds in the room, if you address something, you're going to come up with a pretty good solution. So, that's who Matt's about.
It's brilliant. Like sometimes I'll see it real life, right? Real time. We'll be watching practice or something, and he'll say, "Hey, listen, guys, like stop with the signals. Let's just see if they can play through it." And as a coach, it's like, oh boy, like I can't do my thing. What? This is new. Like you just want him to have to like go with it. Like I could see where over time. That's like if you can do it both ways and still want to teach and still enjoy evaluating, but want to operate in the uneasiness, like just learning to operate being uncomfortable, like it's over time, that's going to be pretty freeing. At least that's the way that it looks to me, but I don't have to do it every day. It just seems like that's something that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the things Matt does is even if you have a practice plan, he will change it and nobody knows but him.
Yeah.
And the reason he does that is that's how the football game's played.
Yeah.
Things happen in a football game where you now have to reset and say, okay, this is the situation. Let's attack it. And so, it's when I first went to work for him, I was with guys that every minute was accounted for, and you did it exactly how the practice plan was. And so when I went to work for Matt, that drove me nuts the first year. But when you see the method to the madness, it is like a football game. And so that's what he tries to do, and I think it's really effective.
Coach, I'm wondering, obviously you've been with Coach Rule a long time, whether it's Temple, Baylor, Carolina, and now Nebraska. I'm curious what you think some of the differences are outside of the obvious. Obviously, transfer portal and NIL weren't around when you were at Temple and Baylor the way they are now. What are outside of those things, though, what are some of the differences you've noticed in terms of whether it's playing in the Big Ten, whether it's kind of how expectations of the fan base impact the way things are perceived? Like, what are some of the differences you've noticed at this stop?
Well, I think, first of all, there's a lot of things at Nebraska. Each school has its own set of issues. Everybody thinks, Nebraska's a great job. Well, Nebraska does have a set of issues, and one of them is the history of this university and how many football games they've won. But how long ago was that? It's been over 20 years probably, right? Mm-hmm. So you're fighting that a little bit when you come in. That's always an issue. You're playing in a conference that has some elite programs. Now, I know when it was two divisions, the division Nebraska was in was probably the easiest.
Oh, the old Legends leaders or the West? Which one? The first one?
Well, the last one they were in. I thought they did.
That was East West, right?
Yeah, Big Ten West. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's all different now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some issues that make the job, a tough job. Which college football, all of them are tough jobs, today. So, but until you get your culture set, and if you talk to Matt, we are still, we still have a step to take, and that's what he's hoping this group will do, is take the next step. And we play, because really when you turn on the tape, it's all about how hard you play, physical, and how detailed you are. And ultimately all those things lead to not beating yourself. If you don't beat yourself and you play to your capability, well, whatever happens, happens, and you can live with that. So that's where we're at, and he is working diligently to get that over the hump. And that's why you see new staff members. We have a new quarterback. There's a lot of different issues or situations that we have changed to hope to get over the hump.
We've had some fantastic, and sometimes I feel bad because I know sometimes you just want to watch practice, and I like the technical stuff. You like the technical stuff, whether they're in twos and they're getting an A gap, or it's 4 down versus 3 down, or like whatever you're letting me ask you about. If you could draw it up, and you want to be efficient in this conference, give me the top 2 or 3 things you'd say defensively you have to be able to do.
Okay, so really when you look at football, if you don't give up big plays, you win 3rd and 4th down, and you play in the red zone really well, you're going to win a lot of football games. Those are the 3 areas that are the most critical. Again, you can't give up big plays. You got to win 3rd and 4th down, and you got to win in the red zone. Hold people to field goals and score touchdowns on offense in the red zone. If you're really good in those 3 areas, you're going to win a lot of football games. But how do you get good in those 3 areas? The amount of detail and execution, and how physical you are, and how fast you play, all those things lead to playing well in those 3 areas. But really, that's what it comes down to, those 3 areas.
What dealt you the most fits with offenses in the red zone? We're going to take a pretty deep dive into red zone offense efficiencies and how Nebraska can score more touchdowns versus no points or field goals, and defensively to limit touchdowns. Obviously, that's a key you talked about. What deals you the most fits when teams got in the red zone?
Well, okay, on either side of the football, the number one thing you have to be able to do in a red zone if you're going to score or stop people is you got to stop the run and be able to run the football in the red zone.
Yeah.
Which becomes harder because everybody's closer to the football. But that's number one. Number 2 is, and in the National Football League, Aaron Rodgers led the red zone every year. And it wasn't the initial play. It was his ad-libbing and moving, and he would score. It was unbelievable at a rate. Well, if you look at us last year, we couldn't stop the run in the red zone. Mm-hmm. We didn't run the ball real efficient in the red zone, and we had a quarterback that didn't move very well. And we didn't play against the quarterbacks that move well down there. So those are the things. You got to be able to run and stop the run, and then I think the quarterback's mobility and ad-libbing down there is a huge factor in scoring points.
Okay, Coach.
And
so
stopping people.
we've been talking about kind of the mobile quarterback factor in the red zone a little bit previously, but I also want to ask you a question here. How much outside of the ad-libbing, right? That I think that part makes sense. You have to cover guys for longer. You have to kind of scramble drill a little bit. That makes it really hard on a defense. But when you have a quarterback that is capable of that and that can move a little bit, how does that help you run the football better in the red zone when everything is still so condensed?
Well, one of the things, if you look at Indiana, you look at all these teams, they run the quarterback. Iowa did a great job last year running the quarterback in the red zone too. Mm-hmm. If you want to get better in the running the football. So as we all know, if the tailback carries the ball on defense, we can add one more player than they have. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So we have a good chance of stopping them. But once the quarterback now carries the ball, they got a hat for a hat. And so I think the quarterback run game is really vital down there too. And it's really vital on 3rd and short and 4th and short to keep the chains moving down there. So, and that's one of the things our new guy can do. Anthony can run with the football. You can have quarterback runs in your offense that now create different problems. I'll give you an example. It's been a run around, and Damon, you guys ran it a bunch at Nebraska. Is speed option against blitz?
Oh yeah.
You know, our guy can do that now.
Yeah.
And so you're going to blitz us down there. We can run speed option, and it's out the gate. So there's a lot of different ways that the athletic quarterback can help you, even in the run game.
You know, I kind of, you know, I watch a lot of what you guys want to do. I know a little bit about your history. Obviously, I mean, Tempe was a nightmare for us when we saw you guys and Coach Snyder down there. How important is simplicity versus or in addition to being able to play fast? Like, how do those two things coexist?
Okay, here's what and you know, I learned this from Monty Kiffin, that knowledge is power. And the more knowledgeable you are about your subject, the more simplistic you can teach it. And so, which allows you to do more on defense. You know, so and when you really listen to a good teacher, they are powerful because their knowledge of what they're teaching, they can make it so simplistic where another guy teaching the same thing is so complicated. And it's all because of knowledge. And so if you look at Indiana right now, everybody says, you know, well, I mean, they are really good on defense. They do a lot of stuff on defense, but they've got to be great teachers, and they're getting their message across, and it's 24/7. You've got to, and so they're executing and they're playing at a high level. So I think that's the key, is that you have a complicated enough system, all right, that guys can execute, and good teachers can get that done.
Coach, speaking of simplicity and kind of execution, we talked to Coach Wade last week, and he talked about them running the same play at Georgia Tech 497 times, I think was the number. and he talked about, you know, just being able to do that one thing at a really, really high level. When you're facing a team like that, you know, you're helping run a defense, or you're running a defense as you have for many years, and you're facing a team like that, what are the challenges of a team that does like 2 or 3 things really, really well,
Iowa,
and executes them really, really well, versus a team that does a lot of different things? Maybe they don't execute it at a super high level, but you just never know what's coming. What does that look like from the other side of the ball when you're dealing with that?
Okay, I think there's a place for both. I think people with high volume of defense or offense have been successful, and then people with very little, like Damon, when we played you guys in the Rose Bowl, or in that Rose Bowl season that we had, you know, we ran like 2 defenses.
Yeah.
But we had really good players. Now, the defenses changed based on formation and backfield sets and stuff. The calls, you know, we had different calls within the same defense. But we were highly effective because we had really good players. I think the better your players are, the more simplistic you can be. And I like the way Iowa plays. That's how I was raised. Their physicality and how hard they play and how detailed they are. They're saying, hey, if you can beat us with what you do, what we do, then go ahead. But let's see if you can. And that's the type of football that, you know, that I grew up as a young coach, learning from the older coaches. Now, there's different ways to skin a cat. There's guys that run it like Buddy Ryan. Guys ran everything known to man. There was guys wide open, and he had all those zone pressures, but he was hitting the quarterback, and they couldn't throw the ball to him. Mm-hmm. So there's different ways to skin a cat. But I love the way Iowa plays. I think, and you know, that's who Coach Rule is too. So, but I think you can win both ways.
Let me ask you something. On the defensive side, would you rather see Iowa's run scheme or USC's? I think USC's run scheme is fantastic. I love counter. I love the pulls. I like that Coach Wade is doing that. But there is also something to the monotony of kind of that zone, that track scheme that Iowa likes too. Like, can you educate our listeners on what it takes to defend both? Because I think the nuances are a little different.
They are, but okay. So in the National Football League, that outside zone you're talking about that Iowa runs, every team that leads the National Football League in rushing, that's their number one play. And the reason for that is all the blitzing and line movement. And the way you stop the run is that you hit people in the backfield. You get negative plays.
Knockback,
Yeah, well, the way you do that is not necessarily with playing across the line of scrimmage. You're penetrating the line of scrimmage, either by blitzing a linebacker, moving D lineman. And the outside zone, as you outside zone it, you can overtake the movement. Or you can run away from the movement and cut it off. So it kills all those pressure schemes. That's why the outside zone is so efficient, and it's the number one play in the National Football League to stop in the run game.
Walk me through SCs, because I'm
okay.
I like kind of the gap count. I like that style as well. And it's
okay. See, with SC, okay, they run counter OT. They pull the backside guard and tackle. That's their number one counter scheme. Now, they do pull a guard and have a tight end as a second puller. They do have that. But it's OT. And what happens with OT is it can leave you one short on the play side because there's too many on the backside. And in the old days, counter was always run with OT, just like SC's running it.
Yeah.
Well, what we all did is cut the first puller and make the second puller have to read what happens to the first puller and maneuver around it. Well, the tackles weren't athletic enough. So what happened was you ended up going away from the tackle as the backside puller and making it a tight end or a fullback. So he was athletic enough to adjust. Okay, so the way to stop that play, and the way, we played SC really well last year, held them the lowest totals, I think, all year in all the categories, is we cut the first puller.
Yeah.
And it eliminates the OT. But make no mistake about it now, SC runs the outside zone and runs it very well. So they also can run the outside zone, just like Iowa can run the gap schemes, which is the counter schemes. They also have that. So I think the good run teams have both. And when you guys were at Nebraska, Damon, you guys had both. So I'll give you an example. When you guys ran the gap schemes, the counters and stuff, if the end was inside, you went outside. If the end was outside, you went inside.
Yeah.
That's how you had both, where a lot of teams don't. They are either an inside team or an outside team. So, and then you had also the perimeter run game. So I think if you're good, you do have the gap schemes and you have the outside zones. So so you'll see good run teams with both.
Let me ask you something, because you're really good from the top down. I know whether it's coaches or personnel or guys coming into the building, like just the wisdom. Help us understand because we do this. And it kind of drives me crazy, but I think it's mostly because we don't know the nuances. We use Temple as an example, or we use Baylor as an example, or we use Carolina as an example. And sometimes I think we forget about how fluid the college rules are becoming with player acquisition and the transfer portal and what you can or can't do. Yet we still talk about it as though it's linear, right? Oh, well, at Baylor it was this, or at Temple he did this. And what are we missing when it comes to navigating college football as you've looked at this program from your vantage point over the last 3 years?
Well, I one of the issues with the NIL, so when I left college football, there was no NIL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was no portal, there was none of it. So now that we're back, you're going to add anywhere from 15 to 25 new players and maybe 30, right? It's down now to 105. Okay, so and you brought up earlier about the development of your players. Yeah. You've got to develop the players that stay in the program, but then you also have to go out and get the right fit in the portal.
Yeah.
And so this thing right now is, and again, you can still coach the guys and get them better in a year if you only have them for a year. Okay, you can still do that, and then a great example of that is Indiana. They have done a great job with the portal, and their players play the way they're supposed to play. So you can get it done, but to compare what Matt did at Temple and at Baylor, I think that's a waste of time today because everything has changed, right? So. We've got to get the formula, all right, to compete for this championship in this league. And it's like people talk about our schedule this year, and it makes me mad. If you're going to win Big Ten, don't you got to beat Ohio State? You got to beat Oregon. You got to beat Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have to do. So, and everywhere we've been together, I've been with Matt. We have started at the bottom, and at the end we were beating those teams that were winning the league. So that's what we got to do here, and hopefully that we'll get a good start on that this year.
Let me ask you something. I wouldn't call. He's definitely not cheap, but he's very fiscally savvy. I think Pat is incredible, and there's like this personality when you guys are recruiting and you're looking at players. He just strikes me as the type of guy. I look at the cars Bryant drive, like it's never new or the biggest he's just not like that. You think there's a conflict in terms of like his work ethic and paying money versus bringing in young guys, and you got to talk about 2-year deals and how much are they going to pay? Like it's clearly not fun. He's got to adjust. How do you see that process going as Nebraska tries to navigate the outside world, trying to assess how you're recruiting?
Well, I think you still have to recruit enough high school guys and develop them. And your base has got to be the high school kids, the young kids. And then what you have to do, and it's no different than we did in the old days. We would say, okay, what does our team need? Well, we need these 6 players at these positions. We went to the junior college level and got them. Just like you did at Nebraska when you were here. You had junior college kids come in, right? Yeah. So, but it's at a higher level now. You have more people leaving, coming and going. So now you're talking about 15 to 20 players that you have to do that with. But I still think that the recruiting process has to be one with your high school players. And I think Coach Rule believes that, and I think a lot of people do.
What do you make of the success rate of like the 83% retention? Like guys don't want to leave the program. Like from your vantage point, why is that?
Well, first of all, our facilities are unbelievable. And then the people that we have working in the facilities are unbelievable. Our strength coach, our nutritionist, our psychologist, it just goes on and on and on and on. And I think these people, they have a terrific facility. They treat people the right way. And so I think the players are happy here. Now, but with that said, we got to get this thing over the hump and win football games. So, and so we've got to get that done. And I think that's why people aren't leaving. I think it's a real good place to be because of the people involved in the facility.
Coach, when you're looking at whether it's high school kids, transfers, assuming there's the base level of talent that you need to compete at this level, what's your non-negotiable? Like what's number one on the list of like, they have to have this?
Well, okay. There's 2 things I think that you have to have. One is enough talent, but you also have to have the love of what you're doing. I don't think you can ever get anybody real good if they don't love what they're doing. If they're doing it because they're good at it or for other reasons. But so the catch-22 to that is that you have to determine, is the kid good enough that has those traits that you love about loving football? And if they are good enough, then you can really develop them into a great player. And if you look at like Indiana's draft, now I know that the number 1 pick was a quarterback, but if you look at all the other draft picks, a lot of them were in the 2nd and 3rd day. Would you guys agree with that? Their draft picks?
Yeah.
Well, they're guys that love football that had enough talent. They weren't overly talented, but they had enough talent that they could develop and they do the right things, all right, and win football games and not beat themselves. And so that's the catch-22. So you got to have really good players, but you also have to have players that love football and have a desire that want to play at the next level. So, those are the things that are conflicting as you go into recruiting a player.
So let me ask you this as a follow-up, because I think in my mind, I was thinking maybe you'd answer something about like toughness or competitiveness or things like that. Do you think that love for football is the thing that underlies all of that and makes you a better competitor, that makes you tougher? Because we don't usually equate, hey, they really love the game, they must be super tough. But do you tie those things together more closely?
Yeah, I think the people that love football is that you can get them better at everything. I heard Tony Dungy talk at a clinic, and he says, your corners don't have to be killers now. They got to be tacklers. Each position has a set of things they have to get done, right? Well, I think if a guy loves football and he's not a great tackler, I can get him to tackle at a level that you can win at because he really loves it, what he does. And people that love what they do, they also, a lot of them, are doing things for their teammates. They respect the team, they love the team, and I'm not going to let my teammates down. And so I think that love of football can bring a lot of things out of people. And I think, Damon, you were talking about earlier on the show, I was listening to you about if you don't love what you're doing, it's hard to come to work, right? And be really good at what you do.
Yeah.
And so you can get people that love what they do to do a lot of really good things.
Let me ask you about, you guys are so competitive. Like I get, I don't get here and want to spill all the tea, but the staff is competitive, right? You're competitive with one another. You're competitive with the players. You make everything a competition. I love that. You have to be able to tell the guys, hey, we need to get better. We're better than we were, but it's not where we want to be. Right? You don't want them back-to-back bowls. You can say it hasn't been done, but it's still not where you want to be, right?
Yep.
How are you, what's that like for guys receiving that whole kind of stay on the gas message when you know that you're actually making progress?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we really have a problem with is we talk about the winning and losing instead of the process. I don't know if you guys like golf, but I listen to the golfers and they talk about, I don't think about winning. I think about doing this process so I can get better. And if I get better, guess what's going to happen at the end? I'm going to win. And so that's what we're preaching is the process. If you keep doing this at a high level and get 1% better every day, then this thing is going to turn around and we're going to be at the level that we want to be at. So it's not winning and losing, it's the process. Do the process at a high level and get better every single day, and you have a chance to play to your ability. And if a team plays at their ability, whatever happens, you can live with.
Coach, if there was one thing that you wish, whether it's the outside media, whether it's the fan base, whether it's recruits that are considering coming to Nebraska, if there was one thing that you could tell them that you wish people understood better about your guys' process, what would it be?
That it works. That I'll give you an example. We had 41 players in the 4 years I was at Temple playing the National Football League. Well, that's unheard of, right? Mm-hmm. We went to Baylor, and they didn't have any pro football players when we went there on defense. And when we left, there was a bunch of second and third round draft picks. So the process will help you develop into the player that you want to be. And so it's proven. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and you've got to keep the state of the course. And once they learn that and start really growing, and Damon, I don't know if you've seen a difference in Caleb in the last year. I have in that.
So that's funny, and I hate using him as an example because he's my kid. But one of the things that I've definitely seen is the work ethic, right? It's he went 21.8 or whatever, and that wasn't good enough, right? It's getting to 22 mile an hour. It was, he got the black shirt in mat drills, but he's looking for a different kind of black shirt. He's learning. He's getting up to go work out on off days, trying to find the best guys that he can work out with, because I think now it's not so much he's afraid to be out of shape. It's that he doesn't want to not be doing his part, right? Like and I know people look at the draft. They're gonna look at the last 3 years. They're gonna say, "Oh man, Nebraska's not putting enough guys in the draft. Nebraska's not putting enough guys in the draft." And I'm thinking, with the bulk of your roster and so few as seniors, that time is going to pop. I think the trick is, how do you get the guys to the point where they believe what you just said, the process works, right? Because you're going into year 4. People want to put constraints on it. But with where the bulk of your roster is with those redshirt freshmen and juniors, that time you hope is coming.
Yeah. Well, okay, so when Matt first got here, he had to battle the old cultures that were here with his players, right? Well, now, and I think, Damon, you can attest to this more. You have got a kid on the team playing. I think we have a lot of players like Caleb that we have been their coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And they're starting like the Rex Guthries and this, like Jeremiah Charles, how much he improved this spring. It's unbelievable. And the kid's really talented, right? Well, things are starting to click in these young players because they're in a process that I think they believe in. Mm. So if they can block out the outside noise, which, you get a lot of negative pub and all, block out all that and just keep listening and do the process. I think these players are seeing that it works. So now these players are all the guys that Matt has recruited. So I think you're going to see a change in how all that is developing, and then hopefully the new players that come in the portal and the NIL stuff, that they buy into it and add to it because of who they are.
How much of a process? It sometimes can be tedious while you're waiting for guys to say yes, and hopefully you're not losing out to the highest bidders, because I know sometimes fans get disappointed, but that's not really the guys you want representing you, right? Where it boiled down to an extra $400,000 or $500,000, but you get the reality of it too, right? There's the practical application of getting while the getting's good. How much of that message do you have to keep permeating through your guys? Like, hey, the money will come. We're just not going to compromise who we want in this culture.
Yeah, I think based on, if you look at our roster and how much money they've made in the last year, players that didn't make any money, now they're making money. I think that they can see that if they just keep doing the right things in this program, that the program will take care of them. And so, that's what it's all about. If they can see that, they're going to stay.
How important is it, because this is the first time I've seen it for this long, that you've actually have so much football on tape, and you've gone through lifting, you kind of reversed the winter and the spring with how early you did the spring, that you have 4 months of OTAs. That's kind of cool. Coach Wade was ecstatic about it. I know the staff gets the guys more. I said, this is the most important 4 months that I can remember, because it's such a long period of time with having actual real football already in the film bank.
Yeah, we've never done spring ball this early, and I wouldn't do it any other way now. It reminds me, I'm serious, it reminds me now of the NFL, because, NFL has phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And that's basically, we got done with, a lot of times when you get done with spring football, the coaches go recruiting and the players are done with school and are gone for 3 or 4 weeks. And you don't really get through the spring practice tapes and really correct everything. You don't have time because they're gone, coaches and players. Well, we had a whole month to really watch those tapes and evaluate those tapes as players and coaches. Then in that, we had actually more than a month to continue with them, and then obviously this summer. So I think it's I'm not sure I'd do it any other way. I thought when we first did it, I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know where this was going to go, right? But I think everybody on our staff really liked it, because we're with the players more and being able to teach them more.
Can you think of what you would maybe enhance or tinker or even change, I guess, on the front end of the lifting regiment if you're going to start spring that early?
Well, I think Corey did a nice job because we had very few injuries in spring football, which that's what I was worried about. Is they're coming back and that soft tissue, all that soft tissue stuff. But I think the way we practiced early and what they did in the weight room really helped. Now, and there's a lot more time to get these guys stronger before the season, not before spring football. So there's some real pluses to doing it early, which anytime you do something new, you're always hesitant about, right? But I think this has been a good change.
I'm always surprised, and I'm like this too. So this isn't revisionist history. And I think your guys are getting better because some of it is mandatory. But are you surprised how more people don't take advantage of actual recovery time and how to do active rest by actually taking care of their bodies? It seems like the facility now is more conducive to keeping guys around versus getting a to-go meal and getting out of there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're young, you think you're invincible. You don't need all that stuff, right? When you're a freshman, I mean, you've never had it, so you don't think you need it. But the older players, they look at them and say, why are you in that red light deal? Why are you in the hot tub? Why are you in the sauna and in the hot cold? And so the older players said, hey, dude, you better start doing it now. You'll feel a lot better. I wish I would have done it. So, in the National Football League, if you talk to those guys, the reason the guys play a long time today, probably longer than they did in the past, is because of all that stuff. And there's nothing we don't have. We have sleep beds. It's crazy. If you want to take care of your body, come to Nebraska.
Coach, kind of a weird question, but you're talking about kind of the weight room and the way things go. And it started making me think about kind of the mentality of players. If you could get a glimpse, say you're recruiting a kid and you're trying to decide, hey, is he a good fit for Nebraska? If you could get a glimpse of him either in the weight room, the classroom, or out with their friends, which one do you think tells you the most of whether or not they're going to be a good fit here or not?
That's a great question.
That he's not very smart. It's an okay question.
I would still go back to, and I really think that you cannot be good at anything unless you love it. So your question is, I would find out if they love football. And there's a lot of different ways of doing that, but that's the number one thing I think I would find out. Do you love football?
That's interesting. A lighter note, but not a lighter note. I said a couple times, obviously, my relationship with Coach Rule, and there are times that I just check on him, right? Hey, you good? Let's grab something. And he's got this little kind of sensitive detector that goes off. Like, I remember one time I asked him at practice, I was like, hey man, you good? And he was like, yeah, I'm good. And he came back about 2 minutes later. I'm sitting over there and he goes, hey, you ain't giving me any of that pity party shit, are you? Like, and I was like, no, like I'm just asking. He goes, all right, yeah, we're good. You've been around him a ton. How do you make sure? Because everybody needs somebody, right? Like it's tough. How do you check on him, knowing his personality, that he's kind of just a push through it, plow through it kind of guy?
Well, I've known Matt for so long. When he comes in the morning, I know what kind of night he's had. That's what coaches do, right? We kind of evaluate. When you recruit a player or coach a player, when they walk in to your meeting room, I know exactly if they're doing good or not doing good. And so I've been around Matt that long. So we can sit down and have a conversation if he needs it. But I'm telling you, being a head football coach is a hard job in college football right now. I mean, it's crazy, and I don't know if it's going to change here. I'm
at a high school and obviously where guys get recruited and I listen to what guys say and kind of what they're looking for. And it may be too soon, Coach, because this hasn't played out yet with the money and stuff, but I hear coaches seemingly more interested in what you're talking about, the love, like the toughness than how much they're willing to pay. Because, I mean, let's be honest. You guys don't want to be giving out 2-year contracts to freshmen that are unproven, and you want to structure deals correctly. So when because you want a little return, right? So like do you think there's kind of this collective? We hear Kirby Smart talk about it all the time. I couldn't believe Georgia was out in front of, hey, listen, man, you're out here chasing money. You got the wrong school. Like he's been very animate, and maybe they can do that because they're Georgia, but at least he's saying it out loud. Because at the end of the day, coaches don't really. It's NIL is fine, but you don't really want to be worrying about a young guy making X amount of money, thinking that there's this amount of entitlement. You got to walk me through what that balance is like, trying to play in both worlds.
Well, here's the deal that how I see it is that in the National Football League, when we take a guy in the first or second round, he comes in, he's starter. There's no debate or competition or, I mean, the GM's going to come in and say, I drafted this guy in the first round, he's starting. You know that, right? If you have him second team, right? So when I was in the NFL, every first rounder, he was first team, first day of practice. Well, if you're going to pay a freshman a lot of money, same thing's got to happen. You got to say that he is going to come in and play right away. You can't have $5 to $1 million, $1 million player sitting on a bench. That's just not going to work. So if you're going to pay freshmen that kind of money, then they got to play.
That kind of money?
What's that?
Can you not pay freshmen that kind of money?
Oh, that's what it is now. The good players, the freshmen, it's crazy what they're making right now versus even 2 years ago. It's crazy. But if you take one, they have to play. Otherwise, you got a lot of money sitting on the bench, and I'm not sure that you can survive that way.
Coach, fantastic stuff. DB, you got any more? You good?
No, I listen. We talking. Next time, I'm doing more X's and O's though, because we're gonna play some more. We're gonna play a different front this year some of the time, and I'm out of my comfort zone, man. So I'm gonna get stretched. I may be in your office quite a bit.
I got a grease board.
I know you do.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll chat again soon, okay?
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
I appreciate it, Coach.
That is Associate Head Coach Phil Snow from Nebraska
still
football.
calls it a grease board.
You love it. You got to. You know?
Nobody says that anymore.
That's all right. At least it's not like a chalkboard. You know what I mean?
No. I would have even taken dry erase board.
Say grease board. I know what he
Make this the summer event at Edwards Jeep and Ram, Council Bluffs and Village Point. Lease the 2026 Jeep Wrangler Sport S starting at $289 a month. Built for the road and ready for summer. This June, the savings are as big as the season. We've also got the 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn starting at $399 a month, or finance at 2.9% APR for 72 months. Don't miss this pitch. Slide into savings at Edwards Jeep and Ram, Council Bluffs and Village Point. It's time to slide into savings at Edwards Chevrolet. Lease the 2026 Chevy Trax LT for just $349 a month, $0 down with your first payment due at signing. 2 great Chevys, one big June event. Slide into a 2026 Chevy Equinox LT for just $399 a month, $0 down with your first payment due at signing. Get to Edwards Chevrolet today. Together, let's drive.